Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United of the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast in association with Lucky Star Gin. I'm your host Mike, and on the panel today we have got Andy and Dan, and in this episode we're going to cover the trips to Dagenham and Redbridge and Southend. One is going to be given a little bit more attention than the other, I should imagine. Don't forget, we love hearing from you. Join the conversation, stay connected, share your thoughts, share the episode, etc. Thanks to everyone who does that regularly. It's a real big help, and I do love all the comments and all the other things. Get that little boost. I'm going to jump in. So, Dan, it's been about a month for you. How have you been?
Not bad, mate. Not bad. Managed to avoid Tuesday's debacle because I was away with work.
Lucky. And Andy, it's been a bit longer for you. I think it was March.
Last season, yeah, I've been all right. Unfortunately, I didn't avoid Tuesday's debacle because I wasn't away with work, but we'll come to that.
Very, very briefly. So I'm being extra polite to the guys today because they agreed to move it to Sunday night instead of Sunday night because some div didn't remember it's his Mrs. birthday. So happy birthday for yesterday, Mrs. Podcast. But thank you very much. You were set some homework, and these questions are randomly generated, so they're going to be repeated, and I quite like the one that you guys got because this is a lot of years to consider. So it's the knowing me, knowing you section, and everyone's going to have a boogie and Dan's going to get upset, but hey, never mind. Of all the crap I've done, I can't believe ABBA have never copyright claimed that. Even that Pizza Cup Master thing was getting a claim on it, and then they went, oh no, you're right. No problem. So the questions you were asked were, can you share your fondest memory of supporting Sutton United? That's a combined over 70 years, I think, between the two of you. So, Andy, we'll start with you because Dan's looking up to the light going, shit, I forgot this. But Andy,
no, that's fine.
It just, the thing is, it changes from time to time. At the moment, probably, I would say AFC Wimbledon FA Cup replay 2017. That the game, the atmosphere, the time back at the bar, it just encapsulated everything for me.
That is a definite one near the top of everyone's list for popular reasons. Dan, is there a different one for you? Or
that would be sort of, I think that's, if you were there, it's certainly in your top three, I would have thought. There's that, or you've got obviously the Hartlepool game for promotion. I'll go with Wigan away, though, in the Pizza Cup semi, the penalty shootout win, just because I started following the year after we went to Wembley in the trophy in 81. So that was in all those years, the first time I get to see us at Wembley. So that was quite special. So yeah, it's fond memories of that just as a day, and also the rather bizarre night out afterwards in an underground pub somewhere in Wigan High Street.
Somewhere. I did all right on the Wigan one. I sort of went to about 4 or 5 different places, had one pint, and people remember me being there, but I didn't get that pissed at all. I was just wandering around going, hey, look at me. Loved both of those. The replay one was, I ended up standing there for a good 10 minutes afterwards going, what happened? How did we do that? And my favourite memory of that game was Craig's tackle, which he got a lot of grief for, and I just remember all of us being like, oh, really not quiet, but that livened everyone up and got behind it, and they were both great. But I struggled. I was like, oh, Andy, I was like, well, it could be this, could be this, could be this. So I'm asking the question. I don't have to answer it. Anyway, let us know your fondest memory at this moment in time, and share it on social media at Sutton Podcast. The club news. I know there's a wide range of differing opinions about this, but there's been some backlash from the fans the last few weeks. What are your thoughts on the backlash and the club's action? I know they haven't explicitly said anything, but the way the socials have been going has been fairly clear. Dan, we'll start with you on that one. It's a difficult one, and I know why everyone gets it, so I don't want to start an argument with either of you, but what's your opinion on the backlash and the club's reactions?
I assume you mean the negative reaction to the result on Tuesday night, and obviously what had come previously. So I actually talked about this on the Facebook group a little bit. Well, I had my 2 Pennisworth in, wasn't there, can't speak to it, so I don't know the level of to which the vitriol that was unleashed. One thing I will say though is I'll say what I said on the Facebook group. I'm surprised it took that long for the crowd to just have a paddy. To be brutally honest, the support was overwhelmingly positive. I thought last year there's 2 or 3 games last year where people, I'll be brutally honest, could have without doubt just lost their shit and told a few people a few things they might not have wanted to hear, but they didn't. They stuck with them. And even Steve himself said it at the end of last year. He was stunned how, despite how much trouble we were in, how positive people were. I think it's just more. You have to look at what came before. It's not about the fact that we'd lost twice, 3-0, 8-9 games into a season. Got a fan base there that's largely been watching losing football for a year, and not only losing football, pretty incompetent losing football. People have limits. People spend a lot of money going away and watching this club. I know I do. And I'll tell you for a fact, probably 99% of other clubs would have had a couple of complete meltdowns from their support in that same time over a couple of the results that we had and a couple of performances we had. So I think I will temper that by saying it's a little unfair on the lads who are there now, because that's not of their doing. They weren't here a year ago. That's not their fault. Unfortunately, they've copped, should we say, people's fuses have finally reached the limit and people have just had a go. Do you like to see it? No. But sometimes I think it can help, because people just get it off the chest. People can then reset. Saturday was I thought very supportive from the off. Sometimes it's not nice, but sometimes it just helps clear the air. People get stuff off their chest. The team are then aware of how people are feeling. And then at least you've got somewhere to kind of, I guess, start and go again.
Fair enough. Andy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same but different. It's going into Tuesday. I thought this is going to be as rubbish as Saturday, because we'd had 1 day of training between the Tuesday and the Saturday. There was a lot of things wrong on the pitch on the Saturday. They weren't going to fix it in one training session. It just wasn't going to happen, as it proved. But I was also thinking, well, hang on, we've actually had some really good games so far this year. We've got a 5-0 under our belt. We had a really hard-fought win at Wealdstone. Really good performance at Eastleigh. Slightly unlucky against York, slightly naive against Forest Green. So I certainly wasn't in a position to think, oh my God, as some people were saying, oh, we're in a relegation battle now. We're not in a relegation battle. We won't be in a relegation battle. It's a young team that's still learning. And Dan you made a really good point about, actually, you feel sorry for the lads out there, because most of it isn't their fault. We've got people that have been jaded from what was quite a horrific season last year. The fact that Steve managed to get us to a very, very slim chance of survival the last day of the season is something that we probably couldn't have predicted even as far back as January, February time. So I always think it's slightly dodgy to almost compare seasons to seasons. It's a completely new team pretty much. And I think, as we've seen, and we'll talk about when we talk about the Southend game, is that we've got some really good talent in here. It's just getting that talent playing in the right way. So I was disappointed, to say the least. What I didn't like was a throng of supporters basically going down to the tunnel a few minutes before the final whistle, basically getting ready to just berate the players and berate the manager. And I just don't think that helps anyone. It certainly wouldn't, particularly with the young players, it wouldn't help their confidence. Steve will probably water for ducks back for him. He doesn't seem to get bothered by anything, really. But yeah, we've got a lot of potential. This is a reset season. I still think we're probably going to do better than our current position suggests we are. But that's not going to help. Oh, people basically shouting at the players is not going to help that happen. So I get the point about people's fuses basically blowing. And actually, I think that's a really fair point. My position was, no, I'm just going to step back and maybe not necessarily applaud the team off the pitch, but I'm not going to go out of my way to just basically speak to them in a way that you would speak to a murderer for them having basically a shit day at the office.
I wasn't there, but that kind of reaction, like you just said, not applaud them off. That's very sort of Sutton anger. Is the players, I'm getting applauded off. I can understand it if you felt there was no effort going in. So way back, just don't want to traumatize everyone, but way back when we got that terrible season all those years ago, where you just felt, what's the point? There's just no effort going in. So I don't necessarily see that from this. I see this making mistakes and at times not being good enough, but I don't think they're not trying. So I was a bit confused, but as I say, I wasn't there, so I understand everyone's point of view. And as Dan says, people pay their money, they're frustrated. But as Andy says, someone sitting at my work screaming at me when I don't handle a call to the best of my abilities isn't going to make me handle the next call any better, is it? So
that's the thing with football, isn't it? You've got that kind of emotional, and it is irrational as well. Let's be honest. I totally accept that it is irrational. A lot of what we do and say around football is basically irrational. Some of the places we do on a Saturday or midweek, irrational. So it can fly one way and the other. Like from Tuesday to, as I said, Saturday, everyone was overwhelmingly positive. Even with the first half wasn't brilliant, but everyone stuck with the team.
Yep.
So yeah,
no, you're right. Football's very irrational, and you've got people like me going, "Oh, I can't cross the road yet until I get to certain lamppost. I have to come in this way. I have to." And it's like none of this is going to make any difference to the game whatsoever. But you can't help thinking it all does. Right. So, past news. There's no news, but in the household, we've got a new puppy, got a new little doggy, a boy. I've got another boy in the house, massively outnumbered.
Puppy.
So again,
what have you called the puppy?
his name's Buddy.
not Sutton United related.
No,
name.
I didn't want to push it too far.
You see,
Didn't want to push it too far.
It's very disappointing.
I could just start calling all the players Buddy. I just go, "What's up, Buddy?" Yes, it works. It's fine. It helps with my oncoming Alzheimer's. I just call everyone Buddy or Dude, so it's fine.
Likewise.
Right. So Dan, I'm going to leave you off the hook a little bit because you weren't there. But Andy, do you want to expand upon we lost and Dion Pereira had a great game?
I think you summed it up quite well, really.
Okay.
We lost, and Pereira had a great game. Pereira was always a decent player. Pereira was one of those players that probably didn't get a chance to shine that much at League Two in a team that was failing badly. But he's obviously a good player, and he showed that. Obviously, a little extra incentive. Team he knows, manager he knows. It was a poor performance. I don't think it was quite as poor as Boston. Boston was the nadir for me, but you can tell we weren't really getting any shots on goal. We weren't defending brilliantly. There was one moment, actually, about 5 minutes before they scored. We were basically almost playing tiki-taka in their 6-yard box. Like 6 players had a chance to shoot, and none of them did. And I at that point, it's kind of, it's going to be one of those nights, isn't it? So it was obviously playing with a complete lack of confidence. So full credit to Steve, what he did between then and Saturday.
That's the definite thing. Because when I had Josh on, and I was saying about the whole thing where he used to frustrate the hell out of us, bombing down the wing, turning backwards and passing it back instead of crossing it. And he's like, because I didn't want everyone getting on my back if it didn't go right. I wanted someone else to take the pressure, and that throws back to the whole giving support rather than the criticism. How was Christian? Did he play well? I'm guessing.
To be honest, I didn't even notice him until he was substituted.
Fair enough. That answers that question.
Didn't notice him at all. Now, whether that was us not really giving him much to do, or whether he just had a quiet game, I don't know. But I didn't hardly notice him.
Fair enough. Dan, you said similar about Dion, that is another player that just didn't able to get it working at Sutton for whatever reason.
He showed it in flashes when he did come on for us. He had a couple of moments where he looked useful, and you thought, oh, he's the sort of player you wanted. We really needed last year, sort of that guy who could drive with the ball out wide, get Oppo teams turning. And he showed also, because he went on loan to Daggers after he left us in January and had a really good season for them, and then that's why he's ended up signing for him permanently. So you could tell that he was half decent. He had something about him. All right, he wasn't the biggest in the world, but he's quick, good with the ball at his feet. So yeah, it's another one of those that just another one that got away, unfortunately.
Well, I have to admit, when I was doing the preview with the chap last week, and he named him as one of the best players he's ever seen in Dagenham shirt, and he's been supporting for like 50 years, and I was like, come on, that's a bit strong. And then he goes and destroys us like that, and it's like, maybe we didn't see the best of him. But on to Saturday. We did have quite a lot of things on the socials with Steve being a very potty mouth on his little talk to the players. My goodness. But sort of telling them that, look, it's on me, it's the best job in the world and all the rest of it. But what were you expecting from the match? Dan, we'll start with you. Were you expecting the same as, because I think Andy said he was thinking it would be similar, but what were you expecting from the game?
I think it was one of those ones you didn't go into with high hopes, just because the last couple of results. Obviously, as I said, I only saw the Boston game, but the Boston performance was probably one of the worst I've seen at Gander Green Lane in a long time. Certainly, and it was certainly on a par with some of the Forest Green and Salford games from last season, where it was just, all right, we showed a bit more offensively in that, but there was just so many things just wrong that weren't going our way. So you went into that thinking they're now on and up. They've sorted out their problems. They're trying to still find their feet and start looking to push back on to get back into League Two. So I thought we might be in for it. You just hoped, look, they've had a couple of days extra training, like Andy said, they've had a couple of days back on the training ground. Let's hope that, I'd have been honest, I'd have taken a hard fought, close defeat, sort of a 1-0, and at least there was stuff there to give you a bit of hope that things were moving back in the right direction.
And Andy, sorry, I misquoted you there. You'd said that about the Tuesday night. You weren't expecting much. So what were you expecting out on Saturday?
I was expecting more. I thought if they had a few days, they're going to make sure there was enough there in the 180 minutes for them to see what they were doing wrong. There was a shake-up in the lineup, which I thought I felt a bit more confident in, without necessarily picking on players. Tyler French probably needed to sit that game out, because he was probably one of the worst defenders in the last two games, and as a captain as well. And I think that's kind of a show from Steve to say, oh, well, actually, you might be my captain, but I will still drop you if I need to. That's quite nice. And that's actually quite different from Matt, who would try and play the same 11 every single week, even if those players are out of form or not doing the right thing. So he's not afraid to mix it up in those situations. I don't know, just walked in, it felt like it had just a nice atmosphere. I think if it was a home game, it would have been a bit more down, because it would have been, we go again, we saw what happened last time we were at home. This time it's like, oh, new ground, bigger club, decent little atmosphere. The fans were really up for it this time, which I think made a big help. So I was going in quite positive. Then, of course, we let in our first goal, which was just, that was, I don't even want to remember that goal again. Which was like, oh, God.
What did you feel? New centre-back pairing, and you said about the shake-up with Josh as captain. What were your thoughts on that lineup? Because Steve had been saying for the last couple of weeks, I know we'd sort of struggled letting in goals, but he'd been saying that it's at the other end, it's our chances, we're not taking our chances. So did you not think they were going to shake up front, or were you expecting?
No, I thought actually the weakness in defence was draining the confidence up front. So I was thinking that's where you've got to get it right, particularly away from home. If you come away with a 0-0 from a game, that's a decent return, particularly after the last three games we had. Josh Coley is captain. I do not know why Steve did not do that from the first day of the season. I think he is going to be our most important player this season. I've said that on forums all the way from the very start. And that's your fault, Mike, because of the interview you did with him. I just thought that interview you did was kind of, players, they're great, but they always say the same things. And Josh really didn't. Josh seems to think about the game a lot more. It seems to be almost more engaged with the game in that respect. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, actually, this guy has got, watching that video, this guy's captain material. So the fact that he a relative unknown came in, who you've got to have a captain to build a team around, and actually building a team around Josh seems like a more sensible idea. So I think with that respect, you signing fantastic at centre back as well. Just a shame that Ryan Jackson got injured, and hopefully not too seriously. But that was a bit of a nasty coming together of heads. That
yeah. You can't blame me too much for the Josh interview, because you didn't really hear anything I said anyway. It was all
I didn't need to.
I could have asked him any questions. He could have just said what he liked. But Dan, what did you think of the shake-up and Josh as captain?
I'll be honest, with a little bit of hindsight here as well, the choice he made at centre-backs, Ransom and Okoli, I'd term that as more a National League pairing in the middle. Both big lads, both good, half decent in the air, winning headers. That's something we haven't done this year, and it's shown because we've conceded a few lame goals from set pieces as well. So that I wasn't overly upset by that. I hadn't considered Josh as armband, but then again, when you look at Steve clearly rates him, and he obviously, because of he did show a lot of character last year. Effectively, he was on his way out, wasn't he? And Steve's gone, well, he's worked his way back in. And everything I've heard about the lad as well, just away from other people and sort of dealing with him, he seems to be a decent guy. He's still a fairly young player, but not full of himself. I think so. I'm not surprised. Knowing that, I wasn't surprised, but I was sort of a bit, oh, all right. I just because I hadn't personally considered it as an option. But someone's got to have the armband, so he's probably one of our longest serving players. Even by default, I suppose you've got to consider him for that. But fair play. He took the armband. We didn't have a great first half, to be honest. We still looked a bit nervous, a little bit. We didn't seem to quite to be able to get what we want to do going.
Mm-hmm.
And then we conceded that goal, which was just, it was like, oh, here we go again.
Talk us through the goal, go on.
Do I have to?
And he's going to give his view in a minute. Or he's going to lose connection, one or the other.
Camera off.
It's no one likes to see a man cry on camera. It's just unseemly. I do love Steve Arnold. I think he's a great goalkeeper. I also think we're probably asking him to do something that he's maybe not the most comfortable with. But then I would also say this of us in general, in that occasionally we'll try and play out in a situation where just getting your foot through it as much as possible, clear lines. Steve, although to be fair to him, it did bounce up on him a little bit as he got there. I've watched it on the replay and I was like, well, maybe I was being a bit harsh on him. It did sit up on him a bit, and he kind of just hooked it. Same as the goal on the opening day. Just he's put it away from goal and it's gone straight to the lad who was unmarked, and they're one player with any ability really, they're one decent player who just first time straight back into the goal.
9 times out of 10, that's not going in the goal. It happens against us all the time. But
I reckon if he literally put it straight back first, he didn't even take a touch. So most players at this level probably would have taken a touch, and that would have been enough for a yellow shirt nearby to at least get close enough to make him think. And then by then, as well, him taking a touch, maybe Steve's back a bit more and he can make an attempt at a save. But I was just like, oh, here we go. Just don't
collapse.
Just don't count.
What was yours? 10 minutes in, I think it was. No, Andy's pretending he can't hear us now. Hello.
Sorry, I seem to lose it there. Come on, say again.
Just talk us through that opening goal. How did it make you feel?
Come on, I've had to do it. It's only fair.
Okay. Ransom cocks up. Arnold cocks up. They scored. Done. It's just like, oh, here we go again. But even then, I was thinking, we're still not going to lose this game because we weren't making them look good like we made Boston look good the week before.
That was the thing. They had a lot of ball, but even after the goal, they didn't do masses with it. They had a couple of chances, but sort of half chances. But I think it was also as much they also came as much from us making a mistake as them actually playing particularly well. But yeah, at that point, it was about stay in the game, don't make another mistake. Let's at least get in if we have to get to the break, a goal down and rebuild from there.
I mean, saying that, Steve did make quite a few saves, stopped a few. Their keeper made a good few as well. So apart from the goal, it was fairly even. I know when I was watching it back, it was the home team's commentary, and they were basically saying that Southend were all over Sutton, and I was possibly swayed by the fact I knew the result watching it back, but I was like, no, it's a fairly even game in my opinion, and that's hard because I'm normally watching it going, oh my god, we're going to lose. Josh's goal didn't seem like it was coming. Andy, I'll give you the chance to talk through that one first. Were you queuing for the burgers, or did you actually see it?
No, I actually saw it.
Good hope.
And it was a thing of beauty, absolute thing of beauty. Basically, when in two players tried to go for the same ball, they both cocked it up. Josh went, thank you very much. Went on a little run, little jog. Beautifully went past the goalkeeper, scored. It was a class goal from a class player. And
our leading goal scorer in this squad of all time, not of all time, but within this squad, and appearance holder. Dan, when I was watching it live, not live, but I was watching it today, I was watching him going, he's taken this quite far wide. And then he was on his left foot. Are you worried, or did you know that was going in?
No, because he actually stayed fairly central, because there was just the ball forward, the two defenders left it for each other, and then left it for each other again, and that's where Josh was just zipped in, and he was gone. It was just then down to going around the keeper. Yeah, stayed fairly central. So whilst the And to be fair, the keeper actually did reasonably well in that he came right to the edge of his box to make Josh make a decision earlier. But his touch was he kept under control, kept a decent touch, so that whilst he skipped a little wide, he still had plenty of target to hit and put it away well. It was just a little spark we really, really needed, both in the game, I thought, and also just generally just a confidence boost that with half-time basically looming, a confidence boost to get in at half-time. We've not been brilliant, but we've kept it tight, and now we're level, and we're starting from scratch again then. So it just makes the second half and the half-time team talk just, I'm guessing, a world of difference for Steve. And
it didn't have a chance of the negativity in the crowd kind of wondering, oh God, here we go again. But half-time when you're talking to each other. Funny enough, a couple of people did say that after the game about it would have been interesting to see what the reaction would have been with Boston and Dagenham during the last week. We hadn't been brilliant. All right, still only 1-0, but we hadn't been great. If we'd have gone in at 1 down, would the support have waned a little bit second half? But it just gave everybody a lift. It gave clearly the team a lift, us a lift, and just gave people a bit of a buzz at half time. Early second half, saw something that I had to rewind and watch it again, which obviously you don't get the chance to do. But haven't seen this at a football match for donkey's years. But Tyler French got called up for a foul throw. Now, I thought I didn't understand the throw-ons anymore because loads of throws are foul throws as far as I understood them. Did you notice this?
I always find it funny because I always find it that there's always people will shout, you hear people going, foul throw all the time, or corner, he's not kicked it properly. And it's like, you think your referees never stop that. And then this time, it's a foul throw. What?
I think the worst thing about that had been about, I think the previous 5 or 6 throw-ins during the game for both sides had been worse than what he blew French up for. It was just, really? But then again, this is the ref who gave them a throw-in for their bloke clearly jumping 20 foot above everyone else and just heading it into touch later in the half. So it's just, a weird one.
It was one of those things that I'd convinced a rule change had come in and I'd missed it. So I've kept my mouth shut on it because I don't want to sound stupid because it must have changed. It's never happened. But the game felt quite open still in that second half, Andy. And it's almost end to end is, again, watching it with the knowledge of the score, it probably was much more relaxed. But did it feel like that to you guys? That was falling for us a few times and in that they weren't taking their chances very well. But did it feel quite open and quite relaxed?
Yeah, it felt open. The weird thing was, at that point, it didn't feel like we were going to lose the game. It was very odd. The string attacks together, we were stringing some attacks together, but they weren't. It seemed like our defence had kind of been bolstered a little bit. That literally, the goal just before half time, the team talk, defence suddenly came out with their backs up, heads held high, sort of thing. So it was an exciting game, but I wasn't like, oh my God, at any point in the second half, which was a bit strange.
No, I was the same once. We got ahead quite early in the second half. I think it was about 4 or 5 minutes in after the restart. It was something we hadn't really done that well first half. Was we got it wide and we got a quick ball in across the box. And right, it wasn't our lad that put it away, but that's the benefit of just whipping them quick balls in first time rather than checking, coming back, because it's got to come across. If it's got to come across a defender, a lot of the time the defender will feel obliged to. Well, I've got to deal with that, and sometimes you get a break like we did where it kicks up off the blad's shin and straight bullets in, and then suddenly from nowhere, 5-6 minutes ago, game time, you were one behind and thinking, oh God, this is going to, what are we looking at here? And then the next thing, you're 2-1 up, and it's game on. And then I'd agree with Andy from that point on. I didn't really feel in a huge amount of danger. And I think when we scored the third, I was like, that's it. I can't see us losing this. I thought that was more than enough.
Talk us through that one, Dan. And Nada's goal.
If I remember correctly, I think it was their keeper who made a poor kick out. It only reached about halfway. And we just popped it straight back in to midfield. Little feed out wide to Davies. And he managed to just, again, stick a ball across the box. And Nadasam was completely unmarked. So striker of his age and experience, you'd expect to just stick that one away at the back post all on his own, which he did. So yeah, it was good though, because we had done that 2 or 3 times. We'd got the ball wide quicker. We'd stretched the play a bit better. We'd just done everything a little bit quicker as well, which is something at times this season we've looked a little bit, just a bit. I suppose the best way to describe it is just slow. We've just been thinking about stuff a bit too much, or we're trying to take that extra touch. And with that goal and that confidence, it seemed to just help our flow a bit better. And we just did things with a bit more confidence and a bit more purpose. And we just played to our strengths. We got the ball wide and tried to make use of the runners by putting balls across. So once we went at 3-1, I don't think we were really in any danger, to be honest.
No, saw it out nicely. Andy, what did you think of Ellison's goal and how we saw out the match?
My memory of the third goal is going to be completely different, only because I only just saw it. The reason why is because about 30 seconds prior, Josh Coley had been substituted and he went off the pitch at the nearest point and was walking around in front of the goal. And so, obviously he was getting the round of applause he deserved. And you just suddenly felt all the supporters around just suddenly stopping and whoa, whoa, whoa. And the look of confusion on Josh Coley's face, because he's like, well, what are they doing? And he's like, turns around and then just goes, yeah! In a really again, comical way. I just hope somebody'd filmed that because it was superb. And so I didn't actually see much of the goal because my eyes were on Josh at that point. But I just saw it go in. I was like, that will do. We've got this.
Andy, like that cartoon.
Actually, the thing about that is...
Go on.
Hello, you still there? Yeah, hello.
Oh, he's gone.
Yeah, there we go. The thing about the goal in hindsight was the Ashley's goal and Will's assist as such. They're 2 players that actually I've not been too impressed with so far. Just seem a bit ineffective. So for them to tie up together and just put the seal on the game was just like, good lads, well done.
There was one last other thing. One of their players with pernickety referees you mentioned, one of their players seemed to get 2 yellows. I think it was the goal scorer. He got a yellow in the second half. And even their commentary team were like, sure he had a yellow in the first half, but it didn't happen. But yeah, good morale booster, and especially coming from behind. Obviously, don't like going one down, but to be able to come from behind it and show we can do it, great. We had Andrew Jackson saying that the new centre-back, Okoli, was immense. Very no nonsense, which is similar to what you were saying earlier, Dan. And positive. I
thought we settled in really well.
Great crosses and 100% effort. So that was all marvellous. So Andy's kind of jumped ahead with the good, the bad, and the funny. So we'll play it.
You only do this for the jingles.
Do you know what? When I asked questions in the last season, what do people want to come? What do people want to see? What do they want more of? What do they want? Loads of people go, the jingles. Come on, don't take the piss. They're like, no, they're really funny. I think it's just my clear joy. They are. But Dan, what was your good? It can be any match day thing as well. It doesn't have to be on the pitch.
Well, I would say it was nice to go to a new ground, new place, decent stadium with a decent crowd in it. We put on a fairly good performance, got a result. It was a lovely day out. Good few beers, good laugh. Just the whole day, actually. It was just everything was. It was nice, and I said it on Twitter. Sometimes the best wins are those unexpected away ones where you maybe don't expect to get the result and you do. So
yeah, you did sound very northern. Lovely day out.
Lovely day out it were.
Lovely day out. Andy, if you're still there, your camera's off. But what was your good?
Because I keep losing connection, so I thought if I turn my camera off, I've got more chance of hearing it. So the good. I'm going to say something we haven't mentioned so far, actually. And basically another player that really impressed me yesterday on Saturday. Simper, I thought had an absolutely stunning game. He was in the thick of the action for the entire 90 minutes. I thought he did a really, really strong performance. So that's my good.
What's your bad? See, I can't work out if he's winding me up or Andy, you there?
I'm not.
What was your bad?
I'm here. A bad Steve Owens clearance.
Dan, what was your bad?
That.
And Dan, what was your funny?
Oh, actually, it was quite a good day out, so there's plenty going on.
There's a blog coming later tonight, everyone.
There is. Well, maybe tomorrow. I don't know how soon I'll get it done. Actually, start of the day, a certain member of the party who had gone to get themselves a big, large cup of tea from Starbucks got on the train, took a big fat sip, and found out it was coffee. And they do not like coffee.
Right.
That set the day up a treat.
Lovely. Andy, I think I know your answer, but what was your funny?
Yeah, Josh Kelly's face for the third goal. Done.
And someone said he gave a little jump in the air skip.
Little like heel tap.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, he's such a silly boy.
He was clever, and he was also fair enough. He was clever enough that when the goal went in, he didn't join in the celebration and cop an inevitable booking for it.
Mm-hmm.
He actually just carried on, went back to the bench.
I was looking when I saw the celebration. I was like, he was there a minute ago, so I wondered if he dived into the crowd or something.
No, he carried on he wandered. He had a little jog back round the touchline. So I guess he thought, quite rightly, I'm not going to get involved with this geezer. He'll just book me.
Exactly, and probably make out it was a second yellow. Oh no, he was on a yellow. He would have been a red.
Exactly.
Right, we're going to jump onto the Free Q preview. I had a chat with Finn earlier, and he was previewing the Ebbsfleet game for us. So that's coming up now. I believe there's a little unmute button somewhere in your top of your screen if you can't hear him. We are being joined by Finn with the Free Q preview. I don't know why I stumbled there. I knew exactly what I was doing and I've written it down. But it's the Free Q preview. Finn is the Fleet Zone on Twitter, not a podcast, as I said earlier. Thanks for joining us, Finn. We just want to find out a little bit more about how the season's going so far and what we can expect. So firstly, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your content channel and your history with...
My name's Finn. I co-run the Fleet Zone on Twitter. I do it alongside a friend of mine. I've only been doing it for a few months. It's picked up a fair amount of traction from Ebbsfleet fans and a few fans from the National League, which has been nice. We sort of just do match analysis, player analysis. In the transfer window when we were signing players, we were looking into them. We sort of just put it all in a Twitter thread. Potentially in the future, we might look at doing it in a different way, potentially like a podcast like here. And yeah, that's sort of what we do. We've not been doing it for long, so we're still learning. As for myself, clearly I'm quite a bit younger, so I've only been going down to Ebbsfleet for about 6-7 years. So I'm 17. So since I was about 7-8, got to witness that amazing playoff run where we lost to Tranmere in the semi-finals. There's been a lot of highs, a lot of lows supporting Ebbsfleet, but it's a lovely little club. I've been doing home and away for a couple of seasons now. That's all there really is to say. I'm not very wise. I've not been going for 30 years. I've not seen us down in the Isthmian or anything like that. I've only seen us bounce between the National League and the South. So
everyone's valid whether you started supporting yesterday or not. But I had a whole little section lined up to talk about the time we beat you guys for the conference national South title, and you weren't supporting them then, so I'll skip that then. And there's no point taking the pee out of that. So what we want to do is just talk a little bit about the season so far. So coming into this season, what were your expectations or the fan base expectations, and how's it gone so far against those?
Well, I think as a lot of fans do, you expect a lot. I think I was expecting higher mid-table. I think as a lot of fans were, we all sort of off that new manager bounce with Danny Searle after staying up on the last day against Boreham Wood. Some of the quality that we brought into the side with Lewis John from Sutton and the other notable players like Jim Kellerman. Mine's gone blank. With we brought in, I think it was 11 or 12 signings in the summer. We had to replace some quality in Miles Kenlock and Clifford that went off to Barnet. On paper, we had a great side with the way that Danny Searle got us playing towards the back end of last season. Expectations were high. Obviously, if you look at where we are in the table, it's not gone to plan at all. Danny Searle was sacked last Monday. We brought in Harry Watling on Thursday after Aldershot. Josh Wright, our captain, was the manager on Tuesday, where we managed to get a point and we managed to win against Hartlepool on Saturday in Harry Watling's first game in charge. It's definitely been a contrast since Watling came in, or just since Danny Searle's been sacked. I think you speak to any fan that's played against Ebbsfleet with Danny Searle at the helm, it's just we looked negative. Obviously, we just didn't play well at all. I think we've only scored 4 goals this season, and I was away on holiday for the first 3 games of the season, so I've only seen us score once. I saw us score on Saturday. We were unlucky not to win against Yeovil away. I think 3rd game of the season, 2-0 down, we brought it to 2-2, and then Yeovil won. I think going ahead with Watling, I'm not going to get carried away, but if Saturday is anything to go by, then we should hopefully be all right. Mm-hmm. I think we're not too far adrift. I think we're only at the bottom by goal difference. I think Maidenhead are just above us on goal difference. So it's not a similar situation to how Oxford City were last season. We're not too far adrift, and we should hopefully climb back, but fingers crossed.
just what we want to hear. A nice new manager bounce just before we play a team. Always joyful. So you've touched on some of this, but where do you see your main strengths and weaknesses at this stage of the season? And we spoke a little bit before we started recording, but who are the kind of key players that we should watch out for? We all know one of them who's probably going to haunt us.
Strengths. Probably we've tightened up at the back in the last 2 weeks. I think we look really solid at the back. We brought in Mustafa Olagunju, who played on loan for us last season from Huddersfield, and he's really shored up that defence quite a lot. Play a back three, which looks very solid at the minute. We've got wing backs in there as well, but it chops and changes all the time, so it might be completely different on Saturday. So yeah, defence is probably our strong point at the minute. We look good in midfield. We've got most of our key players play midfield. I think going forward is definitely our weakness. Like I touched on a minute ago, we've scored 4 all season. Scoring against Hartlepool on Saturday was a very fluky goal. I think it was just a deflection. So yeah, if we're able to hit a barn door on Saturday, then hopefully we can pose a bit of a threat. But if how it's been the last couple of weeks, then I think that will be something we definitely struggle with. In terms of key players, it sounds ironic, but a lot of them are players going forward. We've got Dominic Pollion, who a lot of National League fans will probably recognise. He scored 40-something for us when in the season we won the South. Very prolific goal scorer. Been at his best. I think he's only scored twice so far this season. But I think he partners well with Rakesh Bingham, another one of our key players, if not our key player, who's just recently returned from injury sustained in pre-season. He scored on Saturday and just has completely transformed the side. Anytime that man plays, he's easily our best player. So when them two are playing together, hopefully we'll see some goals. Pollion wasn't in the squad on Saturday. We've also got players like Jeffy Tanga, who we signed from Leyton Orient. Josh Wright in midfield, experienced, played as high as the Championship, I think. Got a lot of experience in this side. Players as well like Lewis John, Tyler Cordner. A lot of players that have my leagues have played in this league for quite a while, which is at times is definitely an advantage, but at times as well, having such an old squad is definitely shown. I think we've got the oldest team in the league on average, and we've definitely, in the players that we've signed, there's definitely a lack of pace. Like I said, when we spoke about Lewis John and other defenders, there definitely is a lack of pace probably at the back, but with some of the signings we've made, it's probably balanced it out a bit. But yeah, in terms of weaknesses, it probably is going forward at the minute and pace at the back.
Fair enough. And what kind of game do you see it being? Because we've had a little mini bad run. We had 3 losses, then we won against Southend. We've actually got one of the youngest squads, and they're quite fast. But what kind of game do you think we should expect? Is it going to be cagey, or is it going to be free and open?
It's definitely going to be cagey. I think we've kept 2 clean sheets this week. And like I said, we're not amazing going forward, but we'll definitely be good and solid defensively. I'll be completely honest, Sutton is probably one of the sides I'm least educated on in this league, considering you've only just come back down to the league. I know you've got some real quality in players, sorts of the signings you made in the summer. One name that springs to mind was Vaz, that you signed from Aveley. I'm not sure if he's been playing for you.
He hasn't the last few weeks, last few games actually. No.
He's someone that I know has got real quality, and those sorts of signings that you made all summer. It will definitely be cagey. I think it depends completely on the starting lineup that we have. Like I said, if we've got Rakesh Bingham and Dom Pollion playing together, we may pose a bit of a threat going forward. If not, then maybe not. They both seem to work well with one another. I said it really depends on the lineup that we'll see an hour before kickoff, because we've got quite a big injury list as well at the minute. And at this level, you never really know when someone's injured, how long they're going to be out for, etc. Because we had a lot of key players missing last Saturday. I have no idea when they're going to be back. So, like I said, we'll probably just have to see who's on that team sheet on Saturday.
Fair enough. Well, last question you're going to love then, because it's the magic score prediction. This is the one that makes the headline in the programme. So what are you going to go with score-wise? No one puts money on this. Don't fret.
My bias wants to say that we'll get 3 points, but logically, I don't know. I'm going to go with 1-1. I could go with 2-2. I'm going to go with 1-1.
1-1.
I say that in confidence.
Absolutely, that's great. Well, thank you very much, Vin. Don't forget to check out the Fleet Zone on Twitter, and I'm sure other socials coming soon. Give them the support, especially when they're doing great things like the analysis, because you don't get any of that on this show. But thanks a lot, Vin. Take care. See you soon.
Cheers.
And finally, unmute button. Constantly amazed by these kids and their knowledge. It's like, do your damn GCSEs for Christ's sake. But what do we think of how he stood? I was a bit gutted I couldn't talk about when they Ibs fleeted it, but I thought it was a bit mean. 2 years before you started supporting them. But Dan, what did you think about what you had to say? And he didn't mention Will Randall being a danger man, but he's definitely going to come back and haunt us, isn't he?
If he's fit, that's been his problem, isn't it? That's why he was let go by Notts County. Since he's left us, he's just constantly struggled with injuries, it seems. If he's playing, you wouldn't put it past him to be a complete pain in the arse. Even if he's on for 10 minutes, you can guarantee he's going to probably score. I don't think Lewis has featured for him yet, so I'm a bit more confident there.
I think he did earlier on in the season, but he hasn't more recently, which could be a variety of reasons. Andy, what do you think about what you had to say?
Again, about Will, if he's on form, he's far too good for this league. But injuries have blighted him, even when he was with us, never mind after he left us. But he's Will Randall on his day, he's a League One player. What he's doing at Ebbsfleet, the fact that he couldn't get a side, it's probably to do with his injuries, but this is too low for him. Louis, I'm less worried about. I think Louis not been the player he was. Again, injuries have blunted him quite a lot. We saw that last season. It's always nice to see old faces, but I'm not that worried about either of them for different reasons.
And to be fair, they're not going to know that many of the squad anyway, but I'm going to go and put money on Will Randall corner or cross to land on Lewis's head to score a goal. That's going to happen. But onto the game. There's the prediction league and second place. What the hell are you lot all playing at? How can I get in second place with 0% getting the result right? People are clearly forgetting to enter this competition. So do enter, because an idiot like me can be in second. But the code is on the screen. Obviously, it's always stupid because if you're watching, you can see it on the screen. But guys, what do you think? So Dan, what kind of game do you see it being, and what's the scoreline prediction from you?
I would hope that we take a lot of confidence from Saturday. Southend are a better side than Ebbsfleet, just going by current form, and I expect the two to finish. I expect Southend to be at least top half. So I'd hope that we start well. I think if we can get in front, I think we'll win the game. The only question that Mark I would have is if we completely banished our mistakes, not to make a stupid error, not to give them a soft goal. Really, that's my only concern. But yeah, I think if we take the lead, we should win the game. I think.
Okay.
At least I hope.
Got a score in?
I'll try and be confident. I'll go for a 2-0.
Okay. What kind of game do you see it being? And
yeah, I think we're going to win. I don't often make predictions, but I just got a feeling we will. We're not the finished article. We still need some work. I think our defence is still a little bit shaky, particularly as we're not going to have Tyler French on Saturday, and we may not have Brian Jackson. So we're already getting a little bit thin in the back positions. But I think even if Ebbsfleet take the lead, I still think we'll come back. And we've done that quite a few times this season. It's kind of like, it doesn't feel like last season when you go 1-0 down, you never lose. It feels like actually we can come back from this. And we've quite a few times this season where we have gone down. Goal, Tamworth, Forest Green. Okay, not necessarily the results came our way, but we did come back. It's a certain level of success. I am going to go for a 3-2 because I think our defence is going to be a bit shaky, but I think after Saturday we're going to be a lot more confident going up front.
Okay, it will come as no surprise to anyone whatsoever. I'm going to go 2-1. I'm going to keep this one until we actually win a game 2-1. Maybe now 8 games in, I did all 55 wrong last year. But we're going to wrap up this episode of Sutton Podcast. Dan can't actually believe that. It's ridiculous.
I'm not going to do statistics or probability, but surely you must be long overdue one by now.
So at some stages in the last season, I was doing some crazy scores like 4-0s and 5-0s and 4-3s and stupid things like that. But then I started to go, right, I can be serious. And I kind of set it along 2-1 way before halfway, I think it was. But anyway, it doesn't matter. We will get there one day and I will not know what to do. And bloody Naddison, we were winning 2-1 until he put the ball in the net. We're going to wrap up the episode for the third time, I think. Always, we appreciate everyone's feedback, questions for you to get involved in. Tell us your fondest memory of supporting Sutton as of this moment in time, and then tell me tomorrow what it is, and so on. Tell us anything you'd like to be discussed on the podcast, any ideas. Someone did come up with an idea, and I'm going to try and work out if I can possibly fit that into the schedule, but just do a random interview with a fan, sort of find out a bit more about different people. And follow, like, share this episode at Sutton Podcast on social medias. Are back on Sunday with Neil O and Neil M. and we're going to talk all things Ebbsfleet and questions sent in. Obviously, one thing I haven't mentioned is the sort of launch of the Amber 100 project, and there's going to be lots and lots of people wandering around that you may vaguely recognise. The idea is to get people who don't normally come to football. So, and it's a bit of a downward ticks on social media on that. People saying stay away. It's like, I can't understand that at all. Come and spend your money. But as always, we thank our sponsors, Lucky Star Gin. Big thank you to the panel today, and Andy. Thank you to the listeners. Hope you've enjoyed this episode of Sutton Podcast. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
United! 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 United!